Hello and welcome to my channel. In this video, I will be doing my wrap up from the month of June, also talking about what my TBR is going to be for July, going through all the buddy reads, and then just kind of checking in since it's about mid-year and seeing how I've done so far on the list of books I set that I wanted to read sometime this year. If I've done well, we'll still have to take a look there. But let's start with the books that I have read in June. So June was kind of my catch-up month. I'd been doing a ton of stuff the last few months, had a lot of Robin Hobb, and so I was trying to catch up because I didn't have any Hobb in June for the first time basically all year. And so the first book I read was Jurassic Park. This was the buddy read for the Wizardly Duo Discord. We had all decided that we wanted to give Jurassic Park a read, and some had read it before, I hadn't, and it was a very enjoyable time. It was really interesting reading the book for a story that I'm so familiar with, at least from the movie version, and kind of going from there. So I really enjoyed it. I do have a full review that's posted for that as well. It's a spoiler review because I figure at this point, if you don't know what happens to Jurassic Park, it's kind of on you. Even if you haven't read the book, you should have at least seen the movie, so come on. Next up, continuing my read-through of Kate Elliott's Crown of Stars was Child of Flame. This is book 4, and this one too, I did record a spoiler review for this. That one I posted unlisted, so I'll link to it down below, and then it's going to live in the Crown of Stars playlist as well. So it should still be accessible, but I've decided for later books in series like this, especially, Crown of Stars, which basically no one has read, despite my best efforts, I'm not going to use normal upload time slots, days, and, times like normal Fridays, like what would be today. This is what probably would have been today, otherwise if I'd done it, but I'm not going to. But yeah, this is book 4, and this series, I once again, I highly recommend. I really enjoyed the first book. The second book was fantastic. The third book kind of slowed things down to expand the world more, start up some new plot lines. Then book 4 just went for it. So much happened in this book, and I am even more excited to continue and read the last 3 books in the series. It is a series of 7. We've got these 3 more books yet to still read. So excited. And so, continuing with the theme of kind of catching up on stuff and continuing series, in this case finishing a series, I then read back-to-back, of course, Ruin and Wrath, books 3 and 4 of Faithful and the Fallen by John Gwynne. I had put this off for way too long, mostly because Andrew, and of course I'll link Andrew's channel, had told me to read these back-to-back, because when you get to the end of Ruin, you're going to want to immediately start to read Wrath. So I wanted to make sure I had time to do both together. Together this makes a nice, pretty chunky book. And so I did these back-to-back. The review for Ruin is already posted. I do still need to, as of filming this, at least record my spoiler review for Wrath, but that will be coming as well. And maybe a regular post time, maybe an unlisted one, like I talked about for Child of Flame. We'll have to see. I probably should have mentioned this, I guess, at the beginning, but I kind of briefly talked in one of my last reviews, but I am looking to change format a little bit. So I've been historically just basically reviewing and posting reviews for every book that I read. I've grown to realize more that producing more like that doesn't always mean better, because I've been doing more spoiler-free reviews so more people can watch them, but I really enjoy digging deeper doing the spoiler reviews. So I plan on doing, or at least posting less, still probably doing a lot of the reviews, but maybe doing more spoiler reviews, and instead of posting, 3 reviews in a week, I'm mostly sticking to just Friday for reviews, doing other types of content for Mondays and Wednesdays, the other days that I post. That way I can still focus on getting those spoiler reviews there for the people who are reading the later books, especially later books in the series. You're probably looking for a spoiler review. Nobody's probably looking for a spoiler-free review of book 4 of 7 in a series. I realize that, and I like doing the spoilers anyway, so kind of shifting a little bit with that. So in my wrap-ups, I'll probably start linking to videos that you may not have actually seen me post, but that were put out as unlisted so that people can still find them if they want to. I'm trying to figure out how to make that work fully if I can use playlists. So, anyway, moving on from there, after Ruin and Wrath and the emotional toll it took on me, I figured I needed a break, so I read Reaper Man by Terry Pratchett. I did plan specifically to read this book after all that kind of heavy stuff, because I love Discworld, and Discworld is always a fun time going through. There will be a review coming for this one as well, one way or another, and I'm excited to get to. But Reaper Man is the second book in the Death series, and it follows basically Death, the kind of like universal like creatures that are the overlords of time and space or something like that. It's left pretty vague there, but basically like the fabric of the universe doesn't like that Death has grown too much of a personality, and so they decide that they're going to replace him. And so for the first time ever, he has basically time, as in like a life, and he's going on trying to live it. And this one was very, very enjoyable. Still a lot of the humor. It is Discworld, it is Pratchett, but we actually got points with more of a serious tone as well, and I really did enjoy that with this one. So review will be coming as well. And then, can't forget, because it's been on way too many TBRs before, I'm still reading it. I'm really hoping to finish it. I do need to finish it. I do need to finish it tonight, which is probably not going to happen to have it be done in June. But I am finally finishing Cycle of Fire by Janny Wirtz with the last book, Shadowfan. This one I didn't mean to leave to the end because it is a slower paced type book. The prose makes it feel a little bit slower to get through than it actually is, because the actual book is not particularly long, and this is a whole trilogy, so it's decent size for that. But there's a lot of text per page. Just kind of the prose reads a little slower, so it's been taking me a bit longer. I was really behind already from Child of Flame and Jurassic Park, because I read both those kind of slowly. Luckily, Ruin and Wrath I plowed through, and then it didn't take too long to get through Discworld book as well. But so once that is done, that will finish me up for the month. So now I know that doesn't sound like a ton of books to have been read in a whole month. In my defense, what I want to say is, considering the size, that's still over 3,000 pages. So that averages over 100 pages a day. I think it was like 108 is what the average ended up being. So that's still actually pretty solid, because I definitely don't always get 100 pages in every day. But then, when I pick more in, it'll work out well. So I think that was pretty solid a reading month, actually, even though it started slow, and I'm still kind of catching up here at the end. I thought it worked out pretty well overall. So that is the kind of recap what I read for June part of this video. I liked combining this before, so I figured I will keep on combining doing it here. So now we're going to talk about my July TBR. So July is going to be a very, very Kindle heavy month because I have actually most of what I'm reading is going to be on the Kindle this month, which is weird. So I'll have to see if that actually affects how much I read, because with buddy reads and stuff going on, I have a pretty packed rest of the year, and so this month is definitely not an exception there. So first off, we have our channel buddy read in the Discord for the Wizardly Do a Discord, which is the Sword of Kaigen, and really excited for this one. I heard quite a lot about it. It's just, this has been one that's been talked about a lot. I had it, several people in the Discord were talking about how it was so good too, and so a lot of us wanted to go ahead and give this a read. So excited for this one. I know this one's decently long as well. And then, of course, there is the physical book in the bunch. After doing the Lifeship Traders read-along with Megan's Reading Revelations on some other channels, that was both Andrew and I were involved with Lifeship Traders and also other channels, and we enjoyed doing it so much we decided to continue on with the Realm of the Elderlings. So we'll also be reading Fool's Errand, which is the first book in the Tawny Man trilogy. Now, I'm super excited to get back to Fitz, because this does get back to the Fitz and, of course, the Fool in it as well. So we're going back to the Six Duchies. I guess it takes place in the Six Duchies. And I am so excited to get back. I love Lifeship Traders, but I liked Farseer even more. And it's, I loved both, so it's not like it's a huge competition. But I'm excited to get back to Fitz and see what happens in this one. I've heard from a lot of people that it's kind of like you read Farseer, and then you think Live Ship's your favorite, and then you think Tawny Man's your favorite, and then from there. So I'm just super excited to continue with the Realm of the Elderlings. So then, also on the Kindle, I have a couple of e-arcs. The first one is for The Desert Prince by Peter V. Brett. And this I'm pretty excited for because this is a follow-up new story to The Demon Cycle by Peter V. Brett. And that story definitely, it told a very complete story, but with some characters having... basically, it's like we're following... I don't want to spoil anything from The Demon Cycle, I guess, at this point. But in The Desert Prince, we're following basically the descendants of some main characters. I'll say to be super vague. It doesn't actually take place that long after the end of the Demon Cycle, but after that series ended, we're following some of the descendants and seeing basically how they live after the resolution of the Demon Cycle. I enjoyed the Demon Cycle, and I thought the ending was really interesting. It did a thing to close up plot lines, but also left a lot open. So I'm really excited to see this. As soon as I saw this available on NetGalley, I applied and thankfully was approved. And then the next one, which is actually probably a little stranger for me, but is Golan by Michael Sullivan. And I've actually not read any of his books yet. This will be my first, but... From the description, this is in the same land as the Riria books, even though I haven't read those yet, but you're not supposed to need any knowledge of them. It is a completely separate standalone story. And so I saw this, and I thought this would be a cool time to read kind of like what's his newest thing, and hopefully get me excited to read all the other books, because I do have some of the Riria, and I do absolutely plan on reading those. It just is going to take me a bit of time, because there's always a million things on the old list. So, those are the main 4 things that I'm committing to. And the reason I say that is because all of those are decently long and are going to take a little bit of time. But Fool's Errand is actually going to be I think the shortest Robin Hobb book that I'll have read since Assassin's Apprentice, which was a shorter one. This one's not as long as normal. I know Kaigan's like 500-ish pages. I'm not sure on the rest. But because those are all things I do want to make sure that I have done, those are the main 4. Now, I will also, though, for sure at some point read Witches Abroad, which is the next Discworld book for me. Depending on if I have extra time with all of those, that's where I'm not entirely sure what I'm actually going to work on. And I might either try and fit in another Discworld book after Witches Abroad. I have Small Gods up next, which I've heard really good things about too. So I may just try and fit in more Discworld between do a month where I do, a few of those. There's some other shorter things I've been looking to get to, and just some other books that I've gotten recently that I want to read as well. So this is where I'm setting more of a tentative TBR. Those 4 books plus a Discworld I will absolutely read, and then it'll just depend how quickly I get through all those to see where I go from there. I've got, for example, my Dragon books over here that I've been wanting to read. I've got some other stuff too, as I'm going to talk about, that's been on my TBR to read some point this year that I just haven't gotten to. And then there's some other books that I've gotten recently that I'm excited to try out as well. So there's tons of stuff that I could read. I'll have to kind of see where it goes from there. With that, I do want to talk about the buddy reads that are coming up. So I've mentioned these in, I think, my last wrap-up or in my last TBR video. Oh, it was the same thing. So I mentioned these last month, I think, for the most part, but do want to mention again, once again, because they're coming. Like I said, for July, we are doing this sort of Kaigan is the channel buddy read. I'm also participating in the continuation of the Realm of the Elderlings read-along with Megan's reading Revelations, and I will link her announcement video for that as well, like I said. I think all the same channels are involved, but I can't remember for sure, so I will link them, but it's why I'm not saying names. I can't remember if anybody switched up or if it was all the same people. But so those are still going on. Also for the Wizardly Duo Discord, we are starting the Great Memory Sorrow Thorn read-along in August, and I am so excited for this. It is a first time for me to reread for Andrew, and then we've got a mix of people joining in, people who are rereading, and quite a few who've never read it as well. And this is one that's been on the list for a long time. It is also something that's on my overall annual TBR books I wanted to get to, so it fits. We were doing the first book, The Dragonbone Chair, in August. The second book, The Stone of Farewell, in September. Oh boy, I forgot months for a minute. This video is going downhill fast. And then To the Green Angel Tower, which is the massive, I think it's like 1,500 pages in the format that I'm going to be getting it in. I still don't actually have it yet, but I have time. I'll get it on Amazon. Or I almost bought it at a Barnes & Noble, but their condition was their copy was in crappy condition. So I have a feeling I'm going to have a lot of trouble trying to order online and get that chunker not destroyed, but it's going to happen. But anyway, we're splitting that into 2 months because it's so freaking long. And actually, funnily enough, the old mass market paperback literally was split into part 1 and part 2 because it was so long. So that one we do have both October and November. It'll be split into, so plenty of time to get to it, even though it is a pretty dense series. So if you do want to read Memory Sorrow Thorn, whether you're like me and it's on your list of classic fantasy to get to that you haven't read, or if you have read it and want to join us and do a reread, more than welcome. Check out the link to the description in the Discord for that. Also in August, though, we are doing Priory of the Orange Tree in the Discord, and that started as an unofficial and turned into an official. We do that a lot with buddy reads. And so that's another really big book that'll be for August. So August is probably going to be another one of those months where I'm trying to figure out what I can throw in, because I do still want to finish Crown of Stars as soon as I can as well. So there's a ton going on. So those are the buddy reads that we've got coming up. We still have people doing the original Dragonlance Chronicles with the Dragons of Autumn Twilight was last month, and so what is it? Dragons of Spring, Winter. Oh, I forgot the seasons too. It's autumn, winter, spring, and then summer. Oh boy, this is getting bad. But anyway, we have a read along going on for that as well, that we have some people participating in. So there's always more, and then we always have people just saying, hey, you want to read this with me? And so we get all kinds of people. We do have channels for the official channel ones, and just for anybody who wants to set up a buddy read with others. We have that as well. So that is that. Now I'm breaking up the list. So I was just looking today, and it looks like I've done, I think, 24 out of 42 of the books that I wanted to make sure that I read this year. That's not to say I was only planning on reading 42 books this year. Definitely not the case. I usually, on average, even when I'm going slow, read a book a week, and I've had some shorter books in there too that I've definitely gone through quicker. So I've read, already, I'm pretty sure more than 42 books at this point. But these were specific ones I wanted to get to, and then I was planning on just kind of finding out others. So I have gotten through a fair chunk. Part of this did include some things that I had just had for a while, or series I wanted to do. So out of the specific books, the Farseer trilogy, I got knocked out. Kings of the Wild, American Gods. The books 2 through 4 of Crown of Stars, I still have the last 3 to go. I did read the Cycle of Fire, which reading actually that whole trilogy was on the list. Ruin of Kings, which was my book 2 spin list. I read that first book. I had the second book, was the only other one I had at the time, so that's on here too. And I have the third now. So still trying to get to those. There was this book called Acacia by I think David Anthony Durham, and that could be wrong, but I ended up DNFing that one, so that one still made it off the list. We have The Unremembered by Peter Aurelian that I still do need to read, and then there's the second Thomas Covenant trilogy also that I want to get to, and then Red Country I want to get to. I did read the second 2 books in the Black Company Omnibus. I read the entire Red Queen's War trilogy, so that was on the list that got knocked out. So there's a lot in here that I did read. Of course, Faithful and the Fallen was also out here, the whole thing. A lot of here that I did get to, a lot I'm still getting to. Like I said, Memory Sorrow and Thorn is on the list, and that's planned for a buddy read. Priory of the Orange Tree is on here, and that's planned for a buddy read. And then besides those, of course, Crown of the Stars is my main focus. So there's just an idea of the list of books that I wanted to read and then how many I've done. So I'm actually making pretty good progress. Early on, I wasn't making that good progress, so now that I've finished some of the trilogies, continued other books, knocked some whole series out of here, in pretty good shape actually so far. And so a lot of those things. Oh, I completely forgot to mention Rage of Dragons and the Broken Earth series are on there too. Those are other ones that I've had for quite some time. Once again, I made this list at like the beginning of the year. Still haven't gotten to those, so those are on too. So I'm going to try to throw some of those books in as I have time throughout the rest of the year. There's a lot of buddy reads, like I said, going on, and I'm sure I'll end up in more by the time we get there. It already sounds like I'm going to be starting Long Price Quartet in like November, December, I think. Which that's another one I've been really meaning to get to, but I've gotten so many more books since kind of making all these lists that it's caused me to change my TBR a ton. But so those are just some of the other things I plan on working in. Kind of wanted to do an update with that. That said, this video is already long enough, so if you enjoyed it, make sure to give it a like. Check the link in the description once again for the Wizardly Duo Discord. We always have a ton of fun there, lots of buddy reads, as I've mentioned, all kinds of stuff going on, so definitely check it out. And of course, if you enjoyed this video and would like to see more of my content, make sure to subscribe.